That's your request.
Not yet, yeah. We welcome everybody here. The purpose of this special meeting today is to present to the board for their determination as to the drafts that we have for short-term rental ordinance, standard ordinance, impact fee ordinance, special event ordinance, and noise ordinance. We have all members here with the exception of one, so we do have a quorum. The way we will structure this meeting, I will just offer up each ordinance one at a time. I will ask the motion and a second, then a vote, and then we'll move on. At the end of the meeting, we will be open to any questions. So, any questions of the board? First on the list is the short-term rental ordinance. I'd entertain a motion that's the recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for their consideration to adopt a short-term rental ordinance with additions to be made prior to the items being placed on the agenda by the County Prosecutor's Office, and to add an authority section and modify or amend the enforcement section if deemed necessary to do so. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, like sign? Motion unanimous. Site standard ordinance. I will entertain a motion for the recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for their consideration to adopt said site standards ordinance with additions to be made prior to the items being placed on an agenda by the County Prosecutor's Office to add an authority section and modify or amend the enforcement section if deemed necessary to do so. Do I have a motion for that? Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, like sign? Motion passes. The impact fee ordinance. Recommendation to forward the draft of the impact fee ordinance to the county auditor's office for their feasibility review. Should the county auditor determine that it is feasible to create and administer said impact fee ordinance, the zoning commission supports the consideration of the impact fee ordinance by the Board of County Commissioners. Okay, I'll second. Motion in a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, like sign? Motion passes. Special event ordinance. To make a recommendation of support to the Emergency Management Agency to create an effective special event ordinance. Do I have a motion for that? I'm sorry. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Last item is the noise ordinance. The recommendation to table said noise ordinance until such time that the Board of County Commissioners adopts a special event ordinance such type of ordinance prior to the one that we mentioned. So I'll entertain a motion to that. Okay. Do I have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign? Passes. Okay, that takes care of the ordinances that are proposed. The recommendation is from this group, this body, this zoning commission, that was formed under ORC 303.04 to make recommendations to the county commissioners. County commissioners at this point in time will take the recommendations. They can do one of three things. They can adopt the recommendations as is. They can adopt the recommendations with changes, and they can do nothing. So that is what will be forthcoming, and commissioners will do their due diligence to hold any public hearings as necessary for that. So, any questions of the board? Okay. With that, we'll ask.
When is the commissioners going to vote? Do you guys know?
Which,
Mm-hmm. What date?
No, I didn't.
as you move, we're going
Yeah, we will have to do that next schedule. Any other questions?
to find the latest copy.
It's on my website.
You want this one?
Yeah, you're welcome to have that.
I think that's the latest one. I got Paul.
January 29th is the latest one, yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, well,
Okay, if not.
hold on,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll ask one question.
Okay.
What's the controlling legal authority in Ohio Revised Code that allows you to do what's contained in the ordinance?
Well, we'll let the attorneys answer that. I can tell you that ORC 711 establishes that you can create ordinances to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the county. It's not a simple answer of one section of code. There are several sections of the Ohio Administrative Code that apply. There are sections of the National Electrical Code that apply. Sections of the National Fire Code that apply. So I don't know the answers to all those things. I can tell you that before we even began the process of writing anything at all, that our consultant, who is a licensed attorney, and myself, Scott Schrader, sat down with the county prosecutor, Jeff Petrie, and we discussed what we were doing to see if it fell within the bulk of authority that we had. So, and we were given the go-ahead on that, so that's pretty much our answer to that. Anything else?
No question.
Yes, ma'am.
We've had cabin rentals for 29 years, and of course, we live on the property and we've been talking county for a lot of years. Are they doing any consideration on any grandfathering, or are they going back? Because of course, we're building along the way, we followed every code and everything. And so for us to have 13 properties to go back, to get something to, I mean, it's going to be a huge cost burden for us.
Okay.
So I'm
Well,
just wondering, are they considering anyone that's been here for a lot of years that's invested in Hocking County?
There is specifically in the proposed ordinance, a variance request section, and anything that falls within that. This commission has held pretty firm and strong that we will not sacrifice safety in any way, shape, or form. That is a lot of what this code is, if not 99.9% of it. And that came to us from police and fire and emergency medical solutions. So, yes, there is a section in there that allows for that to be looked at. In fact, it's set up in there that you have to, you automatically are granted a year if there is some deficiency. And if we see that there's some amount of work in the progress, then maybe not complete within the year, you automatically get another 6 months. So,
There's one other question. of course, every cabin owner operates off of a well.
Mhm.
And I know that there's talk of health department and water inspections for anything over a certain size. I mean, you know, having the winery, we do get our water tested because it is
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
But to get 13 wells tested, is it just in Hocking County, or are we gonna have to go to
No.
Lawrence to get water samples, or how's that gonna
This is,
help
this,
with getting that
yeah,
passed?
this is a section of the data that was requested to be added by the health department.
Okay,
I think it's better answered by them, but I think only 5 rooms or greater have to do a water sampling every so often, I think. So that's a question.
I mean, I'm just saying for Hocking County to have all these, well, I mean, to get a
Yeah.
well for even 5 bedrooms, I mean, any of our lodges, I mean, like I said, we can put water treatments, but just to get the help, I mean, I don't know who's going to run and do all these inspections. I mean, just our winery, we have a hard time getting the health
Yeah.
department. Are you guys going to employ like a lot of people to enforce
This
this, or how's
will be,
this
this
gonna
will
work?
be strictly enforced by the health department.
Okay, and then are we gonna be responsible to pay for that separate, or is that something the county's going to?
Check with Kevin Smith on that.
Okay,
What I understand that this is a law already in place,
okay.
so it's
You
nothing
mean for
new
water samples for
Yes.
5 bedrooms or more?
Yeah.
Private water system, I think.
for private water.
That's only under public water system.
Public water system.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I
have
just
to
didn't
have,
think that would be
That's
for
for-
rental properties,
That's for
like,
25 or more people, 60 or more days a year.
yeah,
Everything else is private water systems, inspected the first time by the health department,
right,
and that's
then
it
that's
at
it.
this point.
That's correct.
so it wouldn't be something that would be done yearly, that they would
All
check?
done, no. But again, get questions answered by Kevin. Kevin has to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, if all this goes into effect, like, who's gonna pay to bring the jobs in to enforce this? I mean, there's a lot of rental properties, and with us being around for as many years as we've been, there is a lot of things that we do because we want it to be safe. But
Absolutely.
then there's a lot of little stuff that doesn't really, it's gonna be a lot of cost, that,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, this is a state of Ohio health department law, and he just wanted to mention it here because sometimes they fall through the cracks. He's not, maybe sometimes notified before those places are, so he just asked that we add that in.
Okay,
Is anybody currently doing that? Right
You'd
now,
have to ask Kevin,
but it is a law and
yeah.
we don't know.
I think it's a lot as you just defined.
Yeah, like all our new builds, before they give us final well approval, it has to be tested, entered factory free. And then once that's tested and they inspect the well and everything, then that's it at this point on private system.
and that's what, 5 bedrooms or more?
No, that's, anything public becomes 25 or more people, 60 or more days a year.
Yeah, yeah.
So unless
Yeah, no
you're
quote,
sleeping
no quote,
25
yeah,
more than 60
yeah,
days
right
a year,
on
you're on the private.
Okay,
That wouldn't apply to this.
they wouldn't apply.
Not very many. I got a couple, but not very many yet.
Any other questions?
Can you speak on what variances are considered right now?
Well, we gotta wait until the ordinance be adopted, and then the commissioners will form a variance.
No, I mean, what classifications, what type of category you're planning on? I know there was a section for dry well, but I didn't see much else.
That's gonna be up to the variance board. I don't know.
Does all the townships have to agree to it? Let's say a township decides they don't agree with it, and they don't want to do it.
No, the townships do not have to do it.
The townships don't have to.
Right.
So if they don't agree with it, then none of this means anything to us if we're in that township.
No,
They can't deny it. They can't deny it.
They
Yeah,
have to accept it.
yeah. It's like subdivision regulations, like floodplain regulations, like all the health department regulations, those were adopted by the county and our county line. So this is not an instance where each township individually has to ratify it.
So they can choose to decline it or
They,
not?
they can decline it.
Not that I know of. No. They can't, a township can't decline.
In one of the meetings, he mentioned that you could, the townships could decline it, the consultant.
Okay, well, that's something for the attorneys in the Hague.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good question.
I know the countywide rules for subdivisions, the countywide rules for floodplain, countywide rules for health department all apply if there's some method to opt out by a township. I guess one I don't know about.
Do the commissioners have an idea of when you want to have the first meeting about this for a public meeting?
We should be having that administrator, the administrator.
I don't think that we know at this point whether there will be a need to, but I don't believe, a lot of parts and pieces of this process will run through the bid, through the bid tax administrator's office, for the lodging tax administrator's.
Who's the department from the other county that you all were talking about? I don't remember, maybe Meg County or Marietta, that you all were talking about.
All the building, somebody that may do inspections. We've had conversations with Southeastern Ohio Building Department. They do inspections for several counties we fall within their group.
And are they private or public?
I'm not sure if they're quasi-private and public. I'm not sure the answer to that. I do know they work in the city of Logan. I think it's a quasi.
So would our taxes be paying for, would those tax dollars be paying for those enforcement and inspection services?
The inspections will be paid the way the ordinance is structured currently. The inspections will be paid for by the lodging owners.
We don't know what those costs are
They've quoted me $350
for every inspection.
That's what I understand, yes.
Is that based on the size of cabin, so like small cabin versus lodge, or?
We don't know. I don't know the answer to that. There's been some talk about if you have a group of cabins and how that might be set up, but I don't know this.
Just thinking about this, I think it was a question I had asked last time, and there was no clear answer relative to implementation on a document. And so I guess the way I'm looking at this is, and I think other people in this room have the same question, maybe concern, I don't know. But when you get into some of these questions, I think and maybe it's just the way that things are done. So they're getting handed over. But having some of these facts certainly helps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like you've got, the cart in front of the horse so much
No,
that you can even interpret what people.
That's why we say in the recommendations being made here today that the county prosecutor's office has to add the authority section and modify and amend the section as deemed necessary to do so. So that's going to be up to him, and there's further discussion that will have to be had with the prosecutor or whoever the county's legal representative is and the county commissioners. The important thing to this group was to get not the penalty phase figured out, but to get what ordinances we felt were necessary to
Irregardless of cost.
Let me make a quick comment on cost. Good question. Once we understand exactly what we would be asking someone to inspect, I think my approach would be we will not just go to one agency and say, what would your cost be? We need to source that from multiple. They're all qualified to perform the task, but in order to drive down the cost. The intent is not this to be cumbersome from a cost standpoint, and everyone feels it is, but whatever we can do to drive down the cost, we will certainly do that. And then look at others and say, hey, I know it's something we will certainly work in that we look at us to this agency.
Yeah, we've only had a couple conversations with the Southeastern Ohio Building District, or Building Department, I should say. And they've adopted a contract, but they've not had any conversations at all with commissioners. This was just informational.
There's a volume component to it.
Yes.
There's a lot of cabins. We're not going to say, we're not taking the street. It's not retail here.
Yeah.
Is there some way to to differentiate, I think a lot of people have asked, but I think the term is legal non-conforming perhaps in comparison to new construction? Relative.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're asking, and yeah, that's.
It's not in the document, so that's why I
Yeah.
think everybody's in this room, like, what are we really doing? What are we really doing? What is insert here, insert here, insert here? It's ideas, but it's not understand, you can't, there's just not comprehension here. I think most people really feel like.
Well, we're not asking, you've got, past the 2017 was the state of Ohio
State of Ohio, right.
requirements, and we're not asking for those. And basically, what's in the document is what will be, if so adopted, so.
I got a question. I mean, so moving forward, let's say that, somebody who's coming into the county and they want to build a short-term rental. If somebody comes into this county and wants to build it, there is absolutely nothing for them to really know. I mean, where do they go? Who's going to tell them what they can do and what they can't do?
State of Ohio.
But who are they going to talk to? Most generally, that doesn't happen. They go to the health department, they get a septic permit, and then they start building.
If they talk to my office, we tell them. If you talk to
But if they don't, I mean, there's nothing that says, you're coming in, you gotta do this. Whenever in a township, if a township would take control of their township, then they would have some idea. I went to the township. I went to Washington Township when I first came into this county. And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. You know what they told me? They told me, go to the health department. It has nothing to do with us. You don't need nothing from us. Your neighbors will tell you if you're building in the right spot or not.
Well, it's like anything else. Everyone needs to do their due diligence. If you're going to invest a bunch of money in doing a short-term rental, I would hope, number one, that you talk to the health department to relay that. I would hope that you would talk to somebody in the commissioner's office. I would hope you talk to somebody in the regional planning office.
My point is as a county, there ought to be a point. Hey, if you're going to build something, you go to this point. And why we're not investing into that instead of sitting here and harassing everybody here, whether or not everything's the way it needs to be.
Yeah.
We really need to start fresh and go forward.
It's no different than somebody coming into the county and they're not building a short-term rental, they're just building a house.
Sure.
They need not to build a floodplain. And that law is in the books. It's going to sit right beside any ordinance that gets adopted. So it's no different than any other ordinance. If you're going to buy property, you got to come to our office.
Correct.
And that's regulation set, we'll set aside that regulation as all due. So all those things are in place. It's incumbent upon anybody that's going to invest to do their due diligence to find these things out.
It's true that in order for them to be approved by the Washington Tax Administrator, that they have to complete the application.
Yes.
So they're gonna know by completing the application what this ordinance says.
Yeah.
So they will be forewarned, before building construction.
Yeah, the application is being worked on.
Yeah, but that's not in place yet, right?
Well, neither are these ordinances, but it will be in place if and when these ordinances are adopted. Definitely.
How do you envision like somebody, what resources would be there for people to find answers to this question? What do you think that will be available? How do you envision that, I guess?
Well,
Because right now, there's nothing, the way I understand it, right? There's no centralized hub, so to speak, for short-term rentals.
well, no, because there isn't anything.
Okay, but
But
do
I
you
would,
envision that from the county,
I would envision that coming out of our office.
and that would be separate from who would be enforcing, right?
Separate from, I'm sorry.
Who would be enforcing? Or would you be the?
No, the enforcement would occur by the county through the county prosecutor's office.
Right.
Says here, the director of the Hocking County Regional Planning Office is going to enforce
Well, it will be through this office, the prosecutor. We're not attorneys, so we couldn't enforce any ordinance that's in violation. By that may be something the law director will want to change.
Yes, now, the ministry, but the directors of the Hocking.
Yeah, that's also through the,
Charge of enforcing the provision of this law.
yeah.
So do you have a, is there any provision for, whoever this person is, for people to appeal a decision that?
That's the section
Variance.
that we already talked about, yeah. That's where you do it.
Okay, so if they make the decision, so I'm not taking that from the appeal process would be closed.
Through the variance,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I know all about that.
I think the biggest concern is there's already bureaucracy circles that they are running, and this is going to make more, and from the industry.
Explain that.
Because they don't know how to find the answers. You all are making more things that they have to find answers for. It's their responsibility, not the county taking responsibility. It's showing them, hey, this is where you need to go get this. This is where you need to go get this. This is how you do this. They're already going to the state, like you said. When they go to the state says, go to the county. The county says, go to the health department. The health department says, that is not it, because there's different variations of, is it got a septic? Does it have sewer? And these are all, there's no help for the owners. Now, this is going to create double to triple the bureaucracy that they have to follow with no more resources that I've seen in the proposition of
I think
this.
that's a fair, it's a fair, I mean, who would have said, doesn't ask for the help, get what you asked for, you have regularly said that. But I hope, and, you know, this, there may be parts of this that came for certain folks, and others for other folks, but I'm hoping that this would clarify the process. And maybe it doesn't look clarified as it's written today, but as Audie's pointed out, there's a lot of steps left before we ever say we're ready to move forward. And defining that is part of that, defining all the steps for existing owners, for new owners, who's the contact, what's the contact information, what's the process you go through for variance, who's that go through? I mean, somebody asked a question of time. I hope it happens in 2026. I mean, there's a lot of work to do. We need to get there. So we're not finished listening yet. But I hope at the end that with thoughtful people engaged, that we come up with a process that's more inclusive and more understandable for all parties.
Who's all in that room as far as this talking?
There's a seat at the table for some of the people sitting here, no question. I mean, there's some-
Can we
I
get
just
that
wanna
on
see-
record? Can we get that on record? We have a seat
It's
at
on
the
record.
table.
It's on
Please
record.
say
It's
we
on
have a
record.
seat at the table
But,
on record.
But as I said to you, Gabe, many times, and let this go on record too, that defining who that is very difficult. You guys can't define it. HHLOA can't define it. So, because HHLOA doesn't represent a majority of the cabins. So, I mean, you've got to understand our predicament too. If we invited everyone who wanted a voice, we have 685
Do you
people
have
in
any,
this room.
do you have any voice there? Do you have any
We
voice?
will have a voice.
Okay.
The owners want- and
Okay.
It
That's
only
all.
makes sense. for
That's
them to have a
all,
voice.
that's all.
So-
Give us a voice. Give us a voice. Like, we can help you with these
That's very
in a, productive way if you let us, that everybody can win. The locals, you all as a regulatory body, and the industry, where everybody can win. The STR industry can also win. If you let us try to help us. That's it. That's all. I mean, we've been told this 7 times total.
We have not stopped listening, and we won't stop listening. So,
I think the way that he's talking, at least if there's any level of tone that's coming out, it's just the simple fact that no matter how many things I think they feel like they've shared, period, it has not been, at least on David and everybody else's work here, felt like it's there yet, maybe the draft. And so that's why I think you've got a packed house here, at least to some extent.
I think we did get some insightful, right responses in writing before the last couple of drafts. And I would say the majority of those were incorporated in the subsequent drafts. So, because that is an okay way to put it. I've said that to you multiple times.
We got that. We got that.
I just want to make one last comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want everybody to be treated across the board equally, not for
And you know that's.
who are here and people coming in. It should be equal across
That's
the board.
exactly right.
We're having some issues right now,
Right.
and I'm kind of pissed off about it.
Well, and we've heard that multiple times. There are those not doing everything that's required of them, and getting by with things. And that's not fair to all of you out there who are doing all the right things. This new registration process, I hope, will help enforce that.
What if I just don't choose it?
Then it's the probably between you and the prosecutor. I don't know as far as what you can run a short-term rental.
Why does he have to find me?
The prosecutor will do that, yes.
That's what this is being forced to go after, like, is people trying to hide. Like, I really do.
Hopefully there's nothing in that.
That's the deal.
Well, when she says equal too, it's, you gotta look at everybody.
Absolutely.
It's not just these people, you have pigeonholed it to a certain degree. And we could probably go back and forth, we have a little bit, but I'm just saying, you do not have this particular set of rules, unless you guys can say otherwise, applied to anyone else. And I'm not saying it necessarily means that, but in the last meeting, we had the question, can we still fire our guns off on property? They could be within 100 feet of a short-term rental. So everybody, if they want to fire their guns off, I hear it all the time. I'm down on every one of these roads.
But we're not addressing anything outside of short-term rentals at this point, but that's something to be done in the future.
I guess that the idea is what can be self-policed and what can't. You guys know what comes through the phone lines here. I've talked to EMS, I've talked to fire. They have somewhat of a different answer when I ask them. It doesn't feel like it's overburdening the systems, but maybe they're telling you it is. Maybe somebody, I don't know. So that's it. And I'm talking specific to travelers that are staying in a house here, not a day traveler.
I have letters from fire departments where travelers have called in because of issues. So those are things that have been brought to our attention.
Is it more than if it would be a regular resident? Is that like quantified?
You have to talk to the fire.
Because if it isn't a short-term rental, the cost of it on it.
Oh, I'm sure it does, yeah.
That's the thing, is like,
The difference here is you're inviting the public.
I would have rights too.
I know during the town hall meeting that we had out of the church, that where the EMS and the fire had spoke about how the increases that runs over the years increased. And it's interesting because, there's correlation and causation. So I can't say for sure that short-term rentals are causation. There's a correlation, but also a couple other things that have happened in our county. If you look at the numbers, we've increased low-income housing, we've increased regular long-term rentals, and we've increased in the elderly population. Those that also increase rents. So naturally, with those two subjects there, that increases those runs. And so to say, we look at our numbers, we run more, and just by the way, look, tourism went up too, must be causation. It's more than meets the eye on that.
Also, Sean, they do assist with EMS, which I love, how long ago they didn't go out on all these runs with EMS. So there's a lot of runs where they pitch in and do EMS as well, which we,
Yeah,
that's a whole different
There are
topic.
variables there, most definitely.
There should be track. There should track.
It should be, yeah, actually see the locations, are they really associated with the
I
short?
think they are now.
And fires running out on almost every car accident on the freeway. And, you know, there's a lot that they're making runs on that doesn't correlate to just short term.
Maybe me and my friends and everybody I've ever known my whole life are just outliers, but I mean, we're all tourists at some point in our life. We all tour, we go places to visit. I don't ever remember having a coffee with anyone anywhere I've ever went. But I mean, I'm not trying to make that the rule, but can anybody else relate to that? Did you ever?
Well, the only thing I
You
can,
probably haven't called the agency when you get home.
the only thing I'll say to that is there have been instances where folks have not been able, who are here visiting, who are not, who have had trouble getting EMS squads to their location for various reasons. And those are the things that were shared with us. So, we had one gentleman who died.
Yeah, I mean,
One
you're
gentleman.
inherent risks and everything.
One. I think it was 750,000 nights. There are a year rented based on your all's numbers. 750,000 in 1 year. One death is, I mean, how many
I'm not saying there's
deaths
only
happen? These are like things that happen all over the country. They're the target of every bad publicity story to push some regulatory policing action on things that they have. Yeah, I mean,
Does it not make sense?
we agree it
to
makes
put
sense,
in
but it is
Safety
not
protocols
in
to
correlation.
prevent even this one life.
You can sit here and say that all you want, but you can't police every single fatality.
Like,
You will shut the industry and the community down.
No, I'm just saying, does it not make sense?
You won't have any deaths because you won't have any people here because there won't be no money.
Let me just comment one thing again, not correlation or causation, but I did meet with EMS last week, and they would like to open the station in the parks, due to parking. To take, not just saying it's only in the parks, but to take the pressure off of what we run from here and what we run from Louisville. So the request was, we need another station manned by at least 2 people every shift to take some pressure off people having to go there from Louisville and go there from.
I think that makes sense.
Real world, that's great. We all love that. That's awesome.
Yes,
But,
So again,
but it doesn't take away the
I'm
fact
just
that you
saying,
can't
that
stop
was
these
the question.
It
things.
makes logical sense, so who wouldn't want that, right? But I don't like the way the picture was previously painted that perhaps it was causation. And yes, nobody wants one person to die, but for crying out loud, we can't fix everything.
Was it
We
correlation?
can't fix everything
So we don't try at all? Is that
save
what you're saying?
everybody in the world.
Sean, let me say, whether it's correlation or causation, if you bring 750,000 rooms rented in a year, you're gonna have fires, you're gonna have injuries, you're gonna have people with heart attacks. When you bring that number of people in, yes, you're gonna create an opportunity for more things to happen.
No short-term
So
rentals here, period.
that doesn't affect whether living or, but when you bring that many people in, yes, you're gonna increase the volume of incidents, period.
but if we had normal people living in those residences with the volume, we probably would have the same lines. So if we had, you know,
You would.
I think that's what Sean's getting at, like,
Don't
We had-
blame short-term rentals.
If the county's population is.
right, that's, the population would increase
All the time,
to
but the
that
county's
volume.
population doesn't that.
We would
County's
still have
population would
How many
drop.
runs?
A lot of other places, the long-term rentals have inspections, fire,
I'm not worried about that.
all that,
discussion. We're just-
registration is not a common thing.
Yeah, we're not reinventing the wheel here.
I think that would actually be more equal, wouldn't it?
I agree.
What?
Wouldn't it be more equal if we included long-term rentals.
I would agree with that.
Because one life matters. So, you know,
If you blanket it over.
tourist lives are not more important than locals' lives.
Right.
I mean, if we're really trying to save everybody's life, let's save everybody's.
So you say it's all or none?
I mean,
You're
If
saying,
we're-
John, it's all or none?
I'm saying if you guys are saying it's all about safety and
It
people's
is all about
lives,
safety,
then
and
why aren't our local lives just?
we may still go there.
I'm just asking
We
questions.
may still go there.
Logically,
But this
you
is a
probably
start.
shouldn't do that because that's ridiculous.
This is a start.
I
think most
I love that
people-
everybody
most
cares
people-
though. That's important. I think just trying to get on the same page is also important. And making sure that it's not, you know, that maybe that overused word of overreach, but nobody wants to do overreach like that. Nobody likes too much control.
It's the one thing.
There's gotta be a certain level of trust amongst each other that creates a good relationship.
You change it.
It starts here, my friend.
Yeah, you start now.
If we
You
can't
don't
do it
sit there
in
and
this
say,
micro
"It's like
community
this
where we're in
now."
right now,
But again, that
it will
goes
be
both
impossible
ways.
anyway.
That goes both ways. If
I
our attempts at safety are in fact that, then there really shouldn't be pushback. There should be, yeah, okay, but if in fact there's, wait, that doesn't enhance safety, then that's a reasonable pushback. But if in fact, if what we're driving for is safety, when I believe everyone around this table believes that, then there shouldn't be pushback. There should be willingness to say, of course we want to comply with these things.
We do.
I think that's
We
what,
do.
that's what.
That's the thing, we do.
That's what the
We
board's at the
do
table.
want
To
to.
get reasonable for you guys, for us, we work together, we come to a reasonable conclusion that works for everybody, rather than, I mean, like Dave said, we feel like this consulting group has had way more influence than us that are in the business. And that's where we're asking for a voice at the table, we can discuss these things reasonably, together, come to conclusions that works for you guys, works for EMS, works for us.
I think it's really important, because let's admit, the consultant, even right from the get-go, didn't even catch on that you could sleep on a sleeper sofa. You know, that wasn't gonna be an acceptable thing in that first part of the draft, remember that? Like,
That's-
oh, sleeper sofas? Yeah, I mean, yeah, people sleep on
We
those.
heard from you.
Yeah, I mean, but just an example, that's why it's really important that we do
And
continue that.
everybody that's sitting back here is wondering what his level, how many short-term rentals does he operate? Does he operate any? Does he have anything, does he rent his house? I mean, you're questioning the expertise of who is doing the questioning. That's what everybody's doing.
We have members on this panel who operate short-term rentals. We've always had members on this panel who operate short-term rentals. So we hired a consultant who is a licensed attorney, and he is has a bachelor's in planning. And he is the expertise that we've relied on now. And to answer your question, why haven't you listened to us? We spent 1.5 years in public meetings listening to everybody. The consultant hired a company to come in just to record those comments. So don't say we haven't made every attempt to listen. Yes,
Or are we gonna stop?
I'll ask this one question. All right, do you think it is reasonable to put a panel together where not one person's primary livelihood is in the industry, that is their sole, that's what they rely on? Is there any one of them that does that? And why would you not want their input if they, at the maximum amount of efficiency, why would you not want that?
You're asking,
Is there anybody in here that pertains to?
At this, I'm saying,
I
in
know,
the,
but I
asking
mean, is there
you.
anybody in this building, in
That's
this
your
room?
sole income.
That's their sole income.
who in here is their sole income?
primary,
It's my primary source.
primary.
No,
If you don't, okay, sole.
It's well, yeah. I mean, if we want to get truthful, yeah,
So
there's
we've got
people in
what?
here that
2
probably
or 3?
rely on it for income. The other ones that aren't here are, we don't know who most of them are. You guys have probably talked to them in your office, see
Yeah,
what-
we have.
or they've been down here, in a secret meeting, but
there are intricacies to this business that you can't know unless you do it. I can't even know it because I don't do it. Seriously. And that's what they want.
That's why we had those on our commission. That we looked at.
I'll tell you one issue we're personally dealing with in our township right now. Local contractors.
Yeah.
5 trucks on the road today in Blind Corner, no one out there property. My phone blows up, I gotta take time out of my day to ensure that people are safe. Should be a common sense play, right? But we're not gonna put it ahead of things, you know, park your truck there on the other side of the road. I mean, that's been going on for weeks. There's a lot of stuff like that. Driveways and locations, that say you can't put a driveway there. Unless you go to the bank that. We've had 10 trips out there. We won't
Yeah.
charge for it. I don't have time on my day to go out there 10 times to say, come on now, you gotta pay another 20 foot off. We do this stuff on a regular basis.
Is that a resource issue generally speaking? I'm just asking out of curiosity.
You know,
It's a common sense issue.
Yeah, a lot of it's common.
I can get the
sense.
common sense part, but I'm just.
You should know how to do it.
or you should do it where you're told to.
Yes, sir.
Somebody asked over here, what are the qualifications of that consultant? Does he have rentals, short-term rentals? Or
I
is he from around here,
No,
locally
I-
or out of state?
No, he
He's
works for a
from
company that's local, but he lives in Tennessee. He has worked as a short-term rental administrator in the past. He has developed other plans in Ohio for short-term rentals and other places around the many places around the
I
country.
work for American Structural Point.
Yes. Yes.
I just want to understand the process. It sounds like today you kind of voted on this final proposal, and then where does it go from here?
It's not a final proposal,
Okay.
so don't think of it in those terms. It's the draft that this body has met with their consultant, met with stakeholders for quite some time now. It's the things that have been identified to us that we think are important. At this point, it still needs to be looked at by legal, whether that's the prosecutor's office or some other county legal rep. It also needs to be looked at by the commissioners. So this is just a recommendation of a draft. It's not written in stone. The important thing that this group was doing was to find those regulations that we felt need to be covered.
Yeah, understood. So you guys are kind of done with your job now at this point, is what you're saying?
For the
And
most
then now
part,
you're,
yeah.
I guess I'm just wondering, like, is there gonna be more input
Oh,
from,
most
okay, like, yeah, okay.
Most definitely.
This gets the ball, from my understanding, gets the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Commissioners look at it and say, that makes sense, that doesn't make sense, we recommend this. Like you said,
That's
again, there are three ways they can go with it, and you say, yeah, we like it how it is, we want changes, or we do nothing. And so this is just the first presentation. It
Yeah.
says, here's what we got for you.
Very well said, John.
I think the first step probably would be to review the customer job.
Yeah, that's gonna be first.
And they may say, this is not applicable, you can't do this particular
Yeah,
section.
right.
Which I
So we
think,
don't have to
that-
deal with that.
I think we've talked about that in our group a little bit, about that idea too, that it may have been, in hindsight, 2020, but that's probably some of the things you should do before you even take all the time to put all that stuff in there and make sure it is legal.
We already, as I said earlier, we met with the prosecutor, we showed
We're having a double check.
the basics of what we were concerned with doing.
Okay.
The consultant is a licensed attorney as well. So those are things that, yeah, those weren't forgotten about or those are things we looked at early on.
These meetings have been like 4 years now.
This group has been, we have started a process 4 years ago. This group
4
has
years
been,
we've been having these meetings.
yeah,
Here
this,
in public.
And how many public meetings have we had?
there's been
Per township?
18,
Yeah.
probably.
And at the beginning, it was not solely focused on STR regulations. Though our group felt, man, this feels like they're targeting us.
Well,
And then the
Did
group
you
was like,
hear-
oh, no, it's a great thing.
Did
And then
you-
by the
did
last
you
meeting, it was
hear-
like, guess what, we're focused on STRs. And we're like, we knew that.
the only
I mean, it just
recommendation,
happened to be that way. I mean, it's
We
coincidence
made-
probably, but it did happen that way. I don't know if we brought it upon ourselves.
Sean, we made recommendations, not just for short-term rentals, but if you've heard, we made recommendations.
Noise
for
ordinance and things.
Commercial and industrial site standards, county impact fees, county noise ordinance, and special event permits. So this, everybody has capitalized or focused on this part of it, but it's not been the only thing. we
Yeah,
did.
and I just want to say too, this group, it came out of it, if you listen to the sessions, because you guys all saw, if you were there, you saw the awards, and people picked what was important, and that's where these came from. So that, it was a very big funnel, and it narrowed to what the people who attended those meetings thought were
I'm sorry, I didn't look at the updated draft.
That's what the result.
Yeah, but I didn't look at the updated draft, but there's something, we talk about safety, obvious things that are most important. What about the landscaping stuff?
The landscaping stuff is something that depending on, like if you have an existing situation, it'd be looked at to see, it's not meant to be followed to the T, but we've had,
I mean, but what's the purpose?
that came
let's
from,
just get-
that came from complaints.
Who wants to be told what plants they have to put?
Well,
beside their house
we had a
and things
complaint
like That's crazy.
From
It's
folks.
crazy unless
Yes,
you're the
you
neighbor.
say yes?
It goes both ways.
I said yes. We had people show up and
We had
A
several,
complaint?
no, several complaints from short-term rentals that were built near a residential district where they had never been there before. There was no efforts made to screen them from
Goodness.
the back
Could you
deck.
imagine if you're in a hotel room?
You're not in a hotel.
I know,
No, that's,
So you've been.
You're in-
that's
That's
been
the way
our
it
apple
is.
You're in the most
story.
beautiful place in the state of Ohio, and you chose to live here to enjoy the serenity of God's creation. That's why you moved to Hocking.
Yeah, but
And
you
if
know
you got
what?
a short-term rental who's got people partying all night right next to you, who wasn't there when you moved here, you'd have a problem, and so would I.
well, then they might not, they need the.
That's what reviews are called.
Zoning is what needs to happen.
Zoning,
Every
zoning,
sign over zoning.
zoning was what we discussed from the beginning and everyone said no.
But that's where the,
Started out as.
Yeah. That's called the zoning.
but that's where that kind of overreach kind of comes into play, right? So if I'm the cabin owner, and by the way, just for the record, I own 0 cabins. Okay, but I'm a visitor of locations too. But if I was renting a cabin and I looked out the window and thought, look, I can see my neighbor and they're having a party. I didn't really like that. Owner, hey, or you send a message to the owner, hey, just a heads up, you might get a lot more people interested in your property if you put up some plants right there, because, it can be unsightly. Okay, that's you're doing that within the
But if you're the
customer.
landowner who writes that letter to that person who built that cabin right next to them, and that cabin owner says, screw you, what do I care about you? I care about getting people in here, and they like to party. So I'm gonna
Well, then that's
continue
where
those.
the person who has the problem, it's like any neighbor. The person who has a problem puts up the fence. They're not forced to do it. If somebody needs to do it once a week and they don't like to see their neighbor, then they do it. You don't have to have the government come out and tell you you have to do that.
Sean, every.
That's ridiculous.
Well, every.
Does anybody else agree with that?
No.
I mean,
No, I agree with the idea of,
why would we correct, but why is that even?
I do agree with it.
I think you should have just said, let the owners deal with that.
That's
amongst each
why
other.
we have a
They have a really
variance
good ability to work
process.
things out.
The variance process could have the neighboring property sign off on that. That's why there's a variance process.
I've already had this for years, and I've always been respectful for my neighbors, if they call me and they say my dumpster party at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we can sleep, I'm right up there. Right up there.
And there
I
are
mean,
some, there are some people that say, man, I wish I saw my neighbor. I really like partying with people. We're neighborly. We like
We
having
are.
fun together.
Right, and we want to keep
Like,
that
that's-
cohesion
I mean,
with our.
Call me a little
I'm guessing
different.
that's a small segment.
I don't know. It's a case. Like
I
you
have a
said,
beer party next door, I'm gonna go join them.
yeah.
I'm 87
Absolutely,
years old,
I
I'm gonna
have
go
had
hang
people
out
do
with them.
that.
I mean,
My neighbors do that.
If my neighbor right here in Logan's having a little get together and invite me over, I'd be very happy.
Well, okay,
not-
if there's no
Everybody's
normal,
different.
I say, everybody is different, exactly, that's why the government doesn't need to be involved.
we'll just feel.
That's my point,
That's
exactly.
even more reason.
Absolutely.
That's even more reason why the government should be involved. Because everybody's
Absolutely, have a party and not a short-term rental. Probably wonderful people.
It's not as important. One last thing for me, I only have one other thing. I'm sorry.
I have somebody who's converted on a house across the street,
Yeah.
and there's nothing.
Yeah, much of this is going to be case-to-case basis because there was mention of, there's vegetation between us, but the deciduous trees, so wintertime there's leaves. Sometimes the deciduous trees are enough. My house sits right up against the campground. Everything between me and the campground is deciduous trees, but guess what? When winter comes, I still can't see the campground. So it's not, and I'm within probably 75 feet of the property line. So it's not, it's a situation, that's one of those examples where a variance can be granted with all parties, to my way, I think, with all parties being in agreement. So, that's true. There could be physically impossible things and that's where the hardship for a variance comes in. Okay, we thank you all for coming. We appreciate it.
One last thing, is there
Yeah,
a
John.
consideration on a cap of the permit fees?
That's not even been discussed. I have no idea.
Because that can go from $50 to $5,000.
Yeah, I would not see the commissioners doing that, but again, that's not even been discussed at this point.
You would not see the commissioners capping it?
No, I can't see the commissioners raising it.
5,000.
Well, I mean, but if it's open.
Let me give you an example.
You gotta be
Let me
careful.
give you an example. Our split fees that we collect, it was passed in 1996 at $100. Today, they're still $100. That fee is set by the commissioners, if that gives you any idea.
I mean,
No,
but you're setting that fee, and then later, these commissioners won't be. I mean, you don't know, you're still open, you're leaving it open, right?
It has to be a change by the commissioners. Yeah.
Yeah, and as new commissioners come in, they have a different view of that.
I can't predict the future. So
Well, we could write it in, though, is what I'm saying.
I
There not
don't
be a
know
gap.
that that's a good idea either.
We've said all along through this group, and I know the commissioners agree, this is not intended to be a revenue generation.
Perfect, so we can set a cap.
I'm not saying you set a cap. What I'm saying is, it's not intended to generate.
You're gonna need revenue
Net revenue.
somewhere to enforce it.
Net revenue. Right?
We need net.
Means, it does not give you a profit center. Our goal isn't to burden the capital to say, hey, it's another source for us to generate. income. That's not the intent.
But you're gonna have to pay for this administrative.
But that's, part of that will be covered through fees. We'll do the math, trust me, we'll do the math. We got ways to go, but fair question.
Just got how much that administrator's gonna cost, and then that turns to the permit fee. And when that gets a raise, that raises your
What is the permit fee based on size and occupancy? Or
That's not been
based on-
determined yet. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn. Do I
I'll
get a
make
second?
that motion.
No, I have
I need a
a
second, you're
I'll
second.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. Please keep looking for future notifications of future public hearings and future discussions about where this moves from here.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sean, Lee Bucket, you will never have a career in public safety.
Because I do everything.
Yeah.
Sleep between you.